Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. Major power features just leaked. Samsung didn't mess up the Galaxy S26 Ultra. That's the unsettling part. They engineered it very carefully. And in doing so, they revealed a shift that most coverage completely misses. This phone isn't about headline specs or dramatic innovation. It's about control, timing, and redefining what upgrades actually mean. The S26 Ultra looks calm on the surface, but underneath, it quietly changes the rules of how Samsung wants you to experience its phones from now on. If you enjoy breaking down the stuff brands don't explain on stage, connecting small technical decisions to long-term consequences, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who actually cares about tech beyond launch week, and subscribe. This channel is about seeing where things are going, not just reacting to leaks. At first glance, the S26 Ultra almost feels too safe. Samsung didn't chase shock value. No radical design language. No one feature screaming for attention. And that's intentional. When a company with Samsung's resources plays it safe, it usually means they're optimizing something behind the scenes. Not for excitement, but for structure. The S26 Ultra isn't meant to wow you instantly. It's meant to quietly reset expectations. The biggest signal of that reset is the new privacy display. Most people see it as a neat trick, but it's far more important than that. This isn't software. This isn't something Samsung can roll out generously later. It lives in the hardware itself, tied to a specific OLED panel. And that matters because it means Samsung is moving more experiences out of the update cycle and into physical limitations. If your phone doesn't have the right panel, it's done. No patch, no workaround, no future promise. What's more revealing is that this feature isn't exclusive to the Ultra. That tells us Samsung isn't using it to separate premium buyers from everyone else. They're using it to separate generations. The new line isn't Ultra versus Plus, it's S26 versus everything before it. That's a subtle but powerful shift. It trains users to think in terms of eligibility instead of capability. Your phone might be fast, smooth, and perfectly usable, but it's no longer qualified. Once that mindset takes hold, it spreads. Displays today, camera processing tomorrow, battery behavior after that. Hardware-gated features become normal, and software updates slowly lose their meaning. Longevity stops being about performance and starts being about permission. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the camera changes. On paper, the new 24MP mode looks like a win. Better detail, better output, even outperforming modes that were marketed as professional. But Samsung made a very specific choice. They didn't make it the default. Instead, they hid it behind extra steps, extra processing time, and a conscious decision from the user. That's not accidental. That's behavioral design. By keeping 12MP fast and instant, Samsung defines what normal photography is. Quick, reliable, good enough. The best quality is reserved for moments where you're willing to wait. And that wait, 3 seconds after pressing the shutter, changes how people use their cameras. Most users will avoid it unless the shot feels important. Over time, that means most photos are taken in a mode that's intentionally not the best the phone can do. That's a quiet downgrade hiding inside an upgrade. The hardware is capable, but the experience nudges you away from using that capability regularly. And the fact that this mode is locked to the S26 lineup despite minimal hardware differences makes the intent clear. This isn't about what's possible. It's about what's allowed. Charging tells a similar story. 60-watt charging sounds like Samsung finally catching up. But in real use, the difference barely registers. A small gain after 30 minutes doesn't change habits or solve real pain points. That suggests Samsung is prioritizing long-term battery health, thermals, and internal stability. But instead of explaining that trade-off honestly, they hide behind the headline number. The result is a feature that looks competitive but feels underwhelming. That gap between expectation and experience matters. Not because it's slow, but because it reshapes trust. When users realize the upgrade doesn't feel like one, they adjust expectations downward. And Samsung seems okay with that. This phone isn't about pushing limits. It's about managing them. Even the design language reinforces this philosophy. The fact that fake S26 Ultra units can circulate and fool people says a lot. Samsung's visual identity has become predictable. Predictability is efficient. It stabilizes manufacturing and reduces risk. But it also removes surprise. And when surprise disappears, companies compensate elsewhere, usually through ecosystem lock-in and feature segmentation. All of this paints a clear picture. The Galaxy S26 Ultra isn't trying to redefine smartphones. It's trying to standardize them. Controlled upgrades, controlled access, controlled longevity. Samsung isn't asking how powerful the phone can be. They're asking how carefully the experience can be curated. None of these decisions ruin the S26 Ultra. In isolation, many of them make sense. Together, they reveal a deeper shift. Your phone's limits are no longer defined purely by technology. They're defined by policy, generation, and strategic restraint. Invisible lines you can't cross, no matter how capable your device still is. That's why the S26 Ultra is so interesting. Not because of what Samsung announced, but because of what it quietly normalized. Once you see that pattern, it's hard not to wonder what the next hardware-only feature will be. What gets locked next? And which perfectly good phones will never be allowed to cross that line. So the real question isn't whether the Galaxy S26 Ultra is a good phone. It almost certainly is. The real question is whether this is the future you want Samsung building toward. And if this is the new baseline, what does that mean for the S27, or for the phone you're still happy using right now?